My name is Grothaus, and I'm a recent transplant to Tulsa. I've been here in Tulsa in Oklahoma for about 3 years after studying at the Kansas City Art Institute in interdisciplinary studies and art history. I consider myself a synthetic landscape painter. So what I'm really interested in doing is shaking up the tradition of landscape painting, where we have an idealistic vision of what nature and wildlife and the wilderness are. I don't really feel like that exists anymore in the sense that we understand it too. So what I'm trying to do is illustrate the land as it really is, where we have industrialized to the point where there's almost nowhere that you can go without seeing evidence of mankind. And so in that sense, I have become really interested in juxtaposing the industrial world with the natural world. For 365, I'm working on a series of paintings that are about the history of Oklahoma's industry as far as it relates to the land.
She's relatively new to Oklahoma, so she's been fascinated by certain large companies and their position in the landscape. Her strategy for doing that is what piqued my interest.
I spent several months researching the history that we have here as a state with the oil industry, with natural gas. You know, energy and resources are a huge part of the economy here in the state. And then even going back so far as to just our tradition of agriculture, of being major producers of corn and now cotton. And so this series of paintings came out of a flight over Oklahoma, where I'm really looking at a lot of these different sites, looking at natural gas refineries, oil drills as well as oil refineries, coal mining, stockyards, irrigation systems, that kind of thing. And then taking those images and working from them to create these sort of abstracted industrial landscape paintings.
Her landscapes are quite abstract. She employs or adheres to the minimalist grid and very formal, yet she builds up layers. Some areas are very dense and opaque, other areas they're very light and airy. So they're appealing, although some of the content within that might be controversial or unsettling. I guess it's appealing that her critique of kind of the social, cultural, political notion of landscape and our endeavors in it is subtle.
I'm very process-driven and I'm very multimedia-oriented. What I call painting, a lot of people would call, mixed media or multimedia or something like that. So what I do is start with an image, always. I start with a photograph. But rather than just being someone like many artists who Google image search or find things and come across stuff, it's important to me that I source that and have that opportunity to curate what I'm looking at through the lens while I'm taking the photograph. So then I'll take images like these, and these are behind me test images for the full-scale printing that I'll have done before I begin the painting process. So I'll take images like these and print them on various materials and experimenting with all kinds of different things. And then as I work, I start to cut back through the layers and build up and draw on top of that and paint through it. And it really becomes a very dimensional sculptural painting. The materials in my work echo the concept. So the reason why that I work with plastics and industrial materials and things like that, as well as which I haven't mentioned prior, I do work with leaves and natural materials as well, is that by using those materials that are sort of echoing both sides of the coin, it's really kind of mirroring what I'm thinking about and illustrating with my work. Usually when I begin a project, the first thing that I do is to ask myself, great, now what material would best fit that concept? So working with plastics, working with leaves, these things were just a given. I knew that I was going to do that. Some other things have kind of come in and evolved. I never imagined that I would be using sensors and LEDs and programming these things, but that's immensely exciting, and one of my favorite things about working with this project right now. It's been really amazing to know that because of this grant, that regardless of what I want to explore with the media, that I can just go ahead and do that. And, you know, that really kind of opens a lot of doors and takes off a lot of stresses in making the work. So that's really exciting, and I think that's really going to grow the work in ways that it hasn't been able to before.
Working with Grace has been a delight. She's serious. She hasn't been out of school very long, and she has set a path. The path is for her to grow, but she also has the professional drive to be in exhibitions and be contextualized, and she's well read. You can see that in the studio. So I find her drive and interest and determination to be strong.
Being able to work with someone like Shannon is just really exciting. She's an incredible person who asks wonderful questions that gets me thinking about things that I haven't thought about before, or that get me to examine my work in a new light and kind of go, well, that's interesting. I should really think about that a little bit more. Maybe that will have an impact on the work.